One important function, of course, is to rid your world of ugliness. Ugliness is much more noticeable than beauty, and we live in a world which is absolutely full of it. And people in Holland are particularly aware of this because of the absolutely rubbishy modern architecture that is everywhere around them, but also the spoliation of the Dutch countryside and so on. I think it's very, very obvious in this part of the world, and most people, when they go home, want to escape from that ugliness, and that's when the idea of beauty becomes important to them. So when they're decorating their house, arranging their furniture, when they're dressing, and when they're addressing each other as well, when they're addressing each other in words, then they choose words which they think at least are acceptable, and if they could find beautiful words, they'll look for beautiful words. So there is if you like, a home building process which is involved in all this. Well, in these times, it is fairly clear to everyone that we're going through a period not of anarchy, perhaps, but at least of deep moral insecurity. People don't really know what the foundations for their for moral judgments are, and which moral judgments are the right ones and which the wrong ones. Yet everybody knows that there have to be moral judgments. So there's we're living in a particularly difficult period in which people are trying to find a foundation for morality without religion, and I would say that that's a difficult task, maybe a hopeless task, but one way of helping us in this is through the connection between morality and aesthetics, because aesthetic judgment is like religious feeling in that it involves a kind of attitude of respect towards the world, in recognizing that we are not just the creators of our world, and we're not here just to indulge our appetites, that there are things which that require our reverence. And from that feeling, we can perhaps build up a little bit of the old morality that we need. Our judgments of beauty in certain areas are deeply connected with our moral feelings. And there are things that we feel people ought not to look at. Or people's normal response to pornography and sadistic violence and so on is that that is not something that you ought to look at, and indeed its ugliness is connected with that. And likewise, in the case of say music, we have very strong moral feelings about what people should listen to and what they shouldn't listen to, there's a large area of personal choice, of course, but nevertheless there is also a strong sense in all musical people that this is a choice that really matters. It's difficult to define beauty for the reason that the primary datum is not a quality of objects, but a feeling in the person who looks at those objects or listens to them, right? So that you start, and you can only understand beauty if you begin with the sense of beauty. So that's what I talk about. What is that sense of beauty? And I enunciate various platitudes about it. And if you want a definition, I'd say the beautiful is that which is an appropriate object of that sense. Okay, and what is appropriate changes over time. It reflects social and political mores. It has a fluctuating identity, but nevertheless it has a solid core of permanence as well, which is that which relates to the human condition as such. And so I would say that in the end, that beauty is that quality in things which satisfies this need that we have to build a home, and that need is exercised in architecture, in nature, in our relations with each other, in our listening habits and our looking habits and so on. And as long as we are guided along this path of making for ourselves a home in which others have a place, then we're also guided by a sense of beauty.